Hello! It's so happy to be here once again, and thank you for your patience. I'm super happy to drop this new video today that is speaking to us on the role of the adult in the psychological development of the child. Once again, my name is Tolulope Albert, and if you have not seen the previous three videos, I want you to go back and watch them over and over, because if you do, you are able to understand how to work with children, especially meet their psychological needs from a place of understanding. Right, so I am the director of Montessori at Datoluminds Montessori International, and today be sure that an expert is going to be dishing out very important information for you, such that you can work with your child excellently. You can work with your child, and your child's body, soul, spirit, mind will be grateful for it. All right, so I wanted to know that both the the child is both the hope and promise of mankind, right? And I want you to also understand that the child builds his innermost self out of the deeply felt impression he receives, especially from the environment that includes you, the adult, being the sole preparer of of the environment. So once again, I say welcome to today's conversation. So today we will be exploring something deeply transformative. The powerful information I will be giving to you is often underestimated, right? But if you can take it very seriously, like your life depends on it, you will be helping your child grow properly. All right. So the Montessori philosophy in the Montessori philosophy, I want to say the adult is not a controller, a commander, the sole heir, the boss, the superman of the environment, just like you have in every some other educational methodologies. And from the beginning, I will, if you have watched my previous video, I'd already made you to know that Montessori educational methodology is just this time is the one that has stood the test of time, because it has provided every single thing you need for the holistic development of your child, from cradle up until adulthood, right? And so if you have seen my previous video, when I spoke about the planes of development, you will understand what I'm trying to say. So the adult is the mirror. How did the presence of an adult or absence of an adult in your childhood change your emotional world? And then I put there, I invite your comments. If you want to come and tell me, if you want to tell me about their presence in your life, I can give you on and on different um, behaviors, different experiences I've had with adults, from spanning from my parents to my teachers, that some have left on me sweet memories, and has even helped me to develop my confidence, helped me to develop my esteem, helped me to channel myself, understand life, and I've gotten some that has caused me serious childhood trauma. So, what kind of adult do you want to be? The one that will leave an impact in the sand of time, or the one that will affect the child that you are working with? Now, this video is especially for Montessori teachers, or for moms who want to practice the Montessori methodology at home. And if you also want to understand what the Montessori methodology is about, how I need to work with my child, then you are in the right place. Now, the role of the adult in the life of the child, especially in the environment of the child, is quite sacred. It's quite strategic, and it's one more of a silent role. Now, psychological development is not about the adult. It's not the adult doing this development. It's the child's psychological environment. So he needs to do it himself, and he cannot do it successfully without the right experiences in his environment. So because of this environment especially, Maria Montessori made us to understand that the child is more than just a physical embryo. It is an a spiritual embryo, because it needs to develop the psychological world that you can see, but a very important world that will form the man it will become tomorrow. And that's why Maria Montessori says that the child is the father of man. The experiences that the child goes through, the discipline, the day in day out experiences, opportunity to grow, um, opportunity to work within limits, opportunity to be free to explore and respond to his soulish need, his intrinsic needs, you will find out that it grows to become a solid adult compared to a child that they have to do everything for, a child not giving us opportunity to express himself, a child often judged. You will find out that even if they grow side by side but in different environments and they are of the same age, born on the same day, they won't grow up to become the same adults. You will discover that children who are given opportunity to explore, children who are not judged, like we listen, we don't judge, right? This slang that went some months back, yes, especially on the social media, you will discover that these children grow up to be more confident, more ready to break limits, more ready to go out of the way, not afraid of mistakes, encourage themselves to break limits. But on the other hand, you see children often judge, children that are not allowed to express, children that nobody believes in their capacity. They grow up to be cringing adults. So it is very important that the adult in the child environment is trained and is made to understand the kind of children they are working with. Now, in the Montessori environment, Maria Montessori says that the adult will happen to be the teacher or the directress that you are, because I said this is an information for Montessori guys, Montessori parents, and those who are interested in helping to strengthen their understanding of the child. You have to understand that you need a spiritual preparation. You need to kill ego. You need to be patient. You need to understand that the way children want to learn is not the way you assume they want to learn. And that is why one of the very important principle of the Montessori methodology is that you follow the child. And it takes a humble adult to follow the child. When I mean follow the child, is to follow the pace of the child, follow the rhythm of the child, follow the is am I ready? Follow the desires of the child. This is how I want to learn. This is what I want to learn. This is when I want to learn. Are you humble enough to do this? If not, you cannot successfully work with a child, especially in Montessori classroom. If you cannot handle a child making mistake or making mess, you cannot let them control or correct themselves through the mess, and the child is crying yet is not calling for your attention, and you're like, gosh, I need to help this child, and then the voice comes, shh, he has not called for your attention, you cannot go ahead to help him. So, what are you supposed to do at this point? You need to be humble. You need to kill what Maria Montessori says. You need to kill ego. You need to kill ego to be able to perform successfully with the child. So, today I want to go immediately to the role of the adult. Now, in the Montessori schema that has the relationship, the framework of the relationship within the Montessori classroom, you have the adult, you have the child being the focus, and the environment. So now I want us to ask ourselves, now I want to practice the Montessori methodology, or I am a teacher in the Montessori classroom, I'm the adult in the Montessori classroom. What is my role? Right? What is my role? It's more than just giving information. Education is not for school, like Myra Montessori say, is for life. So one thing that is my role is that I am a careful and scientific observer. Now, what does an observer do? He calmly watches to see and understand the child. Okay, let me give this instance. A scientist in a class in a laboratory um, needs to find the a solution to a particular matter. Maybe it needs to find a solution to a particular ailment, or it needs to find how the reaction of a particular chemical is to maybe to the body or to the skin or to something, right? A chemical reaction, or he wants to find out a solution to solving a particular issue. Now you will discover that the scientist will put this specimen in its most how do I put it? In its most in a position that there is no judgment. In its most I mean, what I'm trying to say is that it puts this specimen in a situation that there is no judgment, a situation that it is when I remember the word I'm going to say, I'm going to post it out. Okay, so the words just went out. All right, so it's going to put this specimen in a situation where I can get every information I want, right? It's going to put the specimen in a situation where you know that it supports my findings. That is what I'm trying to say, right? So the he will watch intently, he will observe intently the way the maybe the specimen moves, the reaction changes, the steps it took to change, and then he finds out, okay, from this I can deduce a conclusion that um this is the reason why this is happening. And that is why no medical doctor will administer any drug without allowing you to, or making sure you run a test. That's when they can know what should be administered to you. All right. So the same is your responsibility as a Montessori mother, father, parent, teacher, or adult guide, right? Your job is to observe the child in his non judgmental state, right? In a situation where is the best situation ever, right? Such that your child is comfortable, he can express himself freely, your child is always being himself, right? So you need to give that environment where your child feels secure, where he feels respected, where he knows that nobody's going to judge me, and he, you as the adult becomes that observer. That's what I mean by observer. Then you observe, okay, I noticed that maybe this material I just presented is not age appropriate. I think this child is having a psychological issue. Maybe it is a special child. A non-observing teacher would not know that. I think this child um, needs to repeat this. I think this child is not comfortable yet, doesn't feel secured. Maybe he went through something before he came to school, right? You want to observe the child intently, just like a scientist would do, right? So your job is to be a careful observer. Now, there is something Maria Montessori says. She says that the first essential for the child's development is concentration. Now, the child who concentrates is immensely happy. So, you as an adult must learn to observe without immediate correction. Yeah, in the Montessori classroom, Maria Montessori will let us know that you don't help a child in the task that he has not asked for your help. right? So through observation, you can identify the child's needs, you can identify the child's interests as well as his developmental stage. That's what I've explained earlier. So your job is to be an intentional observer, but you cannot observe when the child is not comfortable, because you would not get the best of what you want. So it's not, if you are too bossy, you know that definitely the child is not in his best state. So it's either shaking, you don't even want to know, you don't even know if the child has actually gotten what the phenomenon, the concept, because is scared of your appearance, or maybe the environment is not well ventilated, or maybe the material you are presenting is not age appropriate, it's not something that spans from his interest. So it takes you to be an observer to know this. And that is why your job as a teacher is to be an observer, especially if you're working in a Montessori environment. It's to be what? An observer. You are the observer, and for you to prepare the environment to meet the child's needs, you need to be an observer. You need to know what the child needs, and that is why Maria Montessori has stood the test of time. The Maria Montessori education methodology, the Montessori methodology has stood the test of time. Why? Because she gave herself to serious observation. She was a pedagogist, right? And she was a medical doctor, yeah. Mommy, one of these days I'm going to tell you a story. She was a medical doctor, and she came from the understanding of what medicine is to a patient. And so I need to actually work with these children to actually provide the solution that they need. And then she observed, and through her observation, she was able to discover that children have observant mind. Children have sensitive period. She was able to observe the sixth sensitive period. She was able to observe that the children actually love to repeat things without being forced. They love to repeat things without being coerced. She also discovered that freedom and discipline is through liberty. She also discovered that when children are given freedom, it gives them the opportunity to fully express themselves. And she discovered that the hand is the instrument of the mind. So what their mind is trying to tell them to do is what the hand wants to touch first, what the hand wants to manipulate, and then it sends an assured information back to the mind, right? And that process, all of those experiences forms his characteristics and personality. Also, so if you are going to work with the child, you have to understand this. A is not B. You could have 20 children in your classes, and their learning pace is not the same. Their learning path is not the same. Their learning their learning styles are not the same. Their IQ is not the same. This child needs you to repeat presentation. This child is of this age with this person, but this person is quite a runner, and this person is quite a crawler. And that's why it's so beautiful that the Montessori methodology is more of an individualized curriculum. Has so the teacher is designing a personalized curriculum for each child according to his level. So you know that as a teacher, you have to kill ego to do this. All right. So one of your responsibility as the adult when it comes to helping the child to develop his psychological, to develop himself psychologically, is that you have to take the position of being an observer. Number two is that you have to take the position of being a guide and not a boss. Right. I am in Nigeria presently, but I want you to know that there are so many curriculums that are followed, right? So we have different, and those curriculums are tied to different methodologies that the particular school wants to follow. Let me put it that way. Now, I have discovered over time that the teacher has been supposed to be the only person that can give information and just go away, but it's quite different when it comes to you being intentional about developing the psychological aspect of the child, especially in the Montessori classroom. Maria Montessori says the job of the teacher is to guide the child, is to give a ray of light and walk away. Now, children, the way they post children to be like zombies, like dull, they cannot think for themselves, just give them the information and then that is all they need. But you know that if you are really working with a child, children are very intelligent. When you give an information, they go A, B, C, D, E from that information. They and when you are giving them opportunity to keep doing that, you find out that they develop themselves critically. Their intellect is sharp. Critically, they can think, they are logical when it comes to thinking. Also, you find out that they want to deduce more from something, especially let me put it this way, when they discover, when you give them opportunity and say, okay, today we're going to mix colors, and then we want to mix some primary colors together, and then we decide we want to mix red and blue, and then all of a sudden they discover that it turns to purple, and then we want to mix blue and yellow and it turns to green. The next thing the child wants to say, asks you, oh, when we mix this other color and this other color and this other color, instead of asking you why don't they do it, they discover this, and you find out that their love for the colors comes and their understanding comes. So that means mixing things actually is not just when I have to mix things to take in. When I mix things, they can actually change. All right. Okay, I want to give an example. There was this music class I was with my children some years back. I think that was 2017. And then I was talking about recorders. That's the wooden recorder, right? So, and the children were using the wooden recorder, and then I said, okay, we've learned about recorders today, so let's talk about the materials, different materials the recorder can in come as, rather it could come as wood, it could come as plastic and all of that. And so I said, this one that came as plastic is made from plastic, this one is made from wood. And then the next thing the child will ask me, so what about the window? The window is not made of plastic, it's not made of wood. And I said, oh, that's made of metal. The next thing will ask me, what am I made of? You see, that's a child give. Okay, let's say after I give the information and that's all, I just keep pouring, and that's so. I don't give them opportunity to ask questions. I don't give them opportunity to think deeply, to be logical. I'll discover that they keep staying on that level, and you find out that you don't develop intelligent children when you just give the information and that's all. No time for questions, no time for children discovering, and that is the reason why a lot of adults today are not intelligent. We have a lot of first class, but they cannot think out of the box. But something is different here. The Montessori methodology is different. We're presenting to the child, holding the hand of the child, and giving the child the opportunity to explore. So with one material, the child can develop different things. Sometimes some of those things they've had as experiences, maybe back from home. Um, okay, for example, when you're working with the pink tower, and the next thing the child makes it into a step-like form. The next thing you notice, the child wants to make it in a snake-like form. There are things that maybe one way, maybe through cartoons or through things they've seen around, they want to express it. Those things might just be in the brain, but there is no way to express. And so, working with two materials, you see them expressing, trying to show you what they've learned over time. And so when you give children this opportunity, you as the observer discover that, oh, this child has been is private to this information, so I can work with this and work with this, and even maybe um, add more to it. All right. So you are more of a guide than a boss. Maria Montessori says that the greatest sign of the success of a teacher is for the teacher to be able to say that the children are now working as if I didn't exist. So adults prepare the environment, not the child. So you introduce the material in a sequential and respectful way, and then you allow the child to choose and act independently, right? And when you do this, like I said earlier, you build confidence in the child. Children you develop in them inner discipline. Children help to believe in themselves and are ready to think logically. They want to express those things they've known that you don't even know that they know. So it is very important that you are a guide. Now, one another thing I would bring to you as an example of being a guide is this. Coming into the Montessori classroom, freedom, there is freedom, right? But this doesn't give the child the audacity to just go there, pick materials, and then make turn them to football, right? Or just use materials the way they are. And that's why the first thing the teacher does, once the child comes in through that door, being a new child in the environment, we hold the child's hand and start the job, taking him from the beginning up until the next level. So it's not the child coming into the environment and just choosing anything that they want to do. It's not the child doing that. It is the teacher that guides the child and tells the child, "Oh, this is what I want to introduce to you today." So you start from the nitty gritty, and then you start saying that the child is trying to dive towards this one, and then you go and say, "Okay, before we work with this one, I want to show you this. It makes it easy for you to later come back to this one." So it's not like I am forcing to say, "No, you cannot work with that." No, I am respectfully giving him opportunity, right? But freedom in our environment is within limits. There are rules to things. So when a child understands the rules, this is what happens in this class. You don't work with materials that I have not shown to you. You don't work with materials that have not been presented to you. We don't play with materials. We don't eat your friend with materials. Else, you will not be able to work with that material. When you're done working with this ABC, you have to return it back to where you took it from. Else, you will not be allowed to work with that material again. So it's more than shouting, beating, eating. We don't do all of that. All right. So it's very important. And I want to post one Montessori quote that says the teacher's task is not to talk, but to prepare. Arrange a series of motifs for cultural activity in a special environment, which is the prepared environment made for the child. So, Maria Montessori believed that the children are naturally driven to grow, but they need adults who knows when to step back, how to prepare the environment in an atmosphere of emotional safety. If you've been listening from earlier, you would have heard me say this. All right. In an atmosphere of safety, emotional safety, order, and independence. Right. So a child who is constantly corrected or over directed may lose initiative. I've said that earlier. So one who is given freedom within guidance begins to take responsibility. I have already explained that. Now, because of time, I will be talking about another thing that is your responsibility as the adult in the child's life before I go to understanding what these psychological needs actually mean. Another responsibility of the adult is that you are the mirror of the child's inner peace. Let me tell you something. You are the mirror to which the child sees himself. So the child can develop fully by the means of his experience in the environment. And this experience, like Mara Montessori say is work, right? But a child's psychic is very sensitive to the emotional atmosphere he finds himself. And that's why you find some children are so fearful because they've always been in a very abusive environment. If the adult is anxious, controlling, and distracted, the child will absorb it. If the adult is calm, respectful, and consistent, the child builds trust and emotional security. While because he has what I call the absorbent mind, and he not just absorbs information, he absorbs the emotional tone and the energy of the adult. And that's why I said that you, as the adult, mirrors who the child sees himself as. So if you want your child to be aggressive. But you know that you are not going to be developing a very emotionally stable and responsible adult, right? Another thing that the adult does when it comes to the emotion, I mean, the psychological development of the child is, I'm so close, is that the adult provides freedom within limits. Montessori identified that freedom, right, and discipline. She identified that um, freedom and discipline are partners. So discipline is developed through liberty. Uh, it's better to have intrinsic discipline than extrinsic discipline. What I mean is, self discipline is more important than getting the discipline from the outside. Because getting the discipline from the outside only, you know what it does? It only brings fear. But getting the discipline through routines, through modeling, through responsible discipline, through clear boundaries and not punishment, the child gets to know its limits. The child gets to know, oh, if I do this, this is not gonna fly in this environment, else I'm out of here. So he knows that okay, I shouldn't do this, else this gonna happen. Not beating now. Okay, I shouldn't. I think you should go back and watch the video of self discipline that I explained this in details. So you have to understand that discipline must come through liberty. So I will not talk much on this. I want you to go back to the previous video and watch, right? So another responsibility of the adult is that the adult is the link between the child and the environment. So the adult is not the center, right? The child and the environment are. The adult responds to the needs of the child and supports the child's development by preparing the environment to suit the need of the child, and also an environment that helps the child to develop holistically, right? And supports the needs of the child. It also connects the child to the materials, the routine, and the society, and gradually she steps back. And before you know, the child becomes a normalized child. I would be doing another video on what I call normalized child, what normalization is to when it comes to in early childhood rather, right? And when the teacher does this, the teacher will be developing emotional regulation, social awareness, and cognitive development. Finally, the job of the adult is to support the spiritual and the emotional um, development of the child. Now, Montessori believe in educating the whole child, body, soul, and spirit. Now, I want you to understand that the mind is the instrument of the soul, and the hand is the instrument of the mind. And there is nothing that comes to the intellect or the senses that was not first in the mind, right? So the teacher's job is not to force growth, is to support the child in his spiritual and his emotional as well as his physical development. So the adult's faith in the child, that is in their inner teacher, which is the mind, is a psychological foundation. So the job of the adult is to unconditionally support and be patient as well as believe in the child that he carries a unique divine mission. And so if you know this, you won't be coercing the child or forcing the child to follow your own dictates and rules. Let me tell you something. Our soul, which is the divine breath of God, comes with the characteristics that God has placed in us as our purpose. So that inner teacher will be showing forth by displaying some of this behavior. So you would know a child who will end up being an artist, a child who will love mathematics, a child who will love singing, because you have given them opportunity to express themselves, and you are able to even guide their parents or you as a parent are able to guide your child in the right direction. So it is very important you observe the child. It's very important you give them freedom, and it's very important that you support their development. You should never force a child, but be consistent with your order, with your routine, with your peace, as well as your meaningful responsibility as an adult. So quickly, I want to talk about what does this psychological need actually mean. Now, I want to put this now. Children have deep, unspoken psychological needs, especially in their formative ages. And that is the 0 to 6, which is the observant mind plane, and the 6 to 12, the reasoning mind stage, right? So there are some needs that these children show, and like I said, if you are not an observer, you won't even know. All right. So one thing that is shown to you and posed to you as a psychological need is one, the need for order and consistency. And you will see this when you observe intently the child. Right. So a child finds security in knowing what comes next. I've always said this: physical order always leads to mental order, psychological calm, right? So the children have an inner cry and need for order and consistency. And that's why if you notice children between 2, 3, you will start discovering that they want you to keep their thing where it's always been. They want to wake up and find this here, this there, this there, this there. If not, they'll start throwing tantrums. If this is why you want to give me food that time. If this is how we're going to follow through that time. And I'm telling you, a child that you follow through in an orderly and consistent way will grow up to become a disciplined adult, because they will know when and when not to do things. So a child's need is order, and they need consistency. They need consistency in routine. They need consistency in discipline. What I mean by discipline is in the limits that you give, right? They need consistency when it comes to timing sometimes. They need consistency when it even comes to transition, right? So that is why if you want to have an hassle-free classroom, you need to be consistent with your routine. You need to be consistent with their transition period. You need to be consistent with your tone. Yeah, with your tone, with your response. Else, they won't have emotional security when it comes to the relating with you. Another psychological need of the child is freedom within limits. Now, true growth happens in an environment that gives a lot of freedom, but has structure. I want to share this Montessori quote that says that to let the child do as he likes when he's not yet developed any powers of control is to betray the idea of freedom. And this is the reason why I have gone through the 1, 2, 3. When I earlier have spoken about from obedience to discipline, and then I spoke about the 3 stages of obedience. So if you have not seen the video, please go back and watch it so that you can understand where I'm coming from right now. Now, you know that in the first stage of obedience, children don't have the capacity to be obedient. You're not stopping them from being explorative, but you are going to limit. Okay, for example, you know that a 1 year old does not know a glass cup. A cup is a cup. And you know that if it breaks, it's going to hurt the child. So why put the glass cup in front of the child? Freedom has to be within limits. And if you understand this, you will be protecting the child and also protecting the child's confidence. Because if the child touches this and it breaks and it gets injured, next time he sees that cup, he won't go there again. And by the time you're going to be presenting maybe something that needs a glass cup, you have already killed the confidence. The same with you introducing a particular material that is not age appropriate. And that's one thing we don't do in the Montessori classroom. We don't introduce materials that are not age appropriate. We don't bring a 1 year old into a 6 year old, I mean, a five, I mean, the children house, let me put it that way, where you have 3 to 6. Because when they start working with it, by the time you are presenting the material to them, there's no fresh admiration for it, right? And so they naturally, their confidence is broken when they cannot do it. And I don't expect you to present to a 3 years old what is meant for a 5 year old. Because by the time they cannot get it, you are killing them. You're killing their confidence. You're killing their emotional strength. So you have to be able to protect them, protect their confidence. So freedom within limits is one of their need. Another psychological need of the child is love and belonging. When children feel seen, they feel accepted, they feel valued. This particular um, um, thing, you notice it especially when children are around 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then when you say, "Oh, I love you" to one child, the next thing they're asking, "How about me? You didn't say that." Right? They want you to love them even in their mistake. They want you to love them even when they're not doing it right. They want you to love them even when they feel unloved. So when you do this with children, you find that they are ready to break limits, break records, because they know someone has got their back. For example, look at the man called Michael Faraday, that until his on 1000th time, he couldn't discover electricity, right? He had self belief, self belief that despite my mistake, every mistake shows me a better way to do something. So instead of judge me, give me just let me find out. So loving unconditionally builds self-esteem and emotional resilience, right? So another psychological need of the child is that the children need responsibility and purpose. Children want to contribute meaningfully. They want to help you around the house. They believe that I can do this. I can do this. Oh, I want to work with this. I want to help you at the kitchen. I want to help you mix this, teacher. This is not time for you to say you cannot do it. God, sit down. Before you know, you're going to make them feel they cannot do anything. Okay, let me say something. There was a particular day on the TV, my daughter was trying to answer some questions. They were watching a particular YouTube channel, and it was posting questions. And then I was going to say, you don't have to get it, right? So even if you don't get it, that's what I meant. That even if you don't get it, that doesn't stop you from being what you are. But because I said you don't have to get it, and I didn't explain further, all of a sudden I noticed that my 6 year old just went hiding on one side of the living room. And then I said, "You're no longer answering questions." The answer she gave me was, "You said I know I don't have to get it." I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So what we say to them is very important. When they need to help you to do something, don't stop them. Teach them how to do. And that's why one cry of the child is, "Help me to help myself. Teach me how to do this. Teach me how to clean up after myself. Teach me how to become responsibility. Teach me how to survive in this world. Teach me how to adapt. Teach me how to relate." And that is the idea behind grace and courtesy. That's the idea behind care of self. That's the idea behind care of environment. That's the idea behind developing hand dexterity, developing elementary skills when it comes to life issues, responsibility. That is why we develop responsibility in children early enough, right? And so you see children who have these skills, they are very confident. So it is a need of the child to be responsible. Yeah. So another thing I want to talk about today is Now, the topic of today: how the adult impacts the psychological growth of the child. I've explained your responsibility as the adult, and I have explained what the psychological needs of the adult, I mean the child is or are. So now I want to talk about how you impact the psychological growth. So I'm going to start with this. Number one, your tone, your posture, your responsibility creates a psychological climate. Children absorb your emotion like sponges because they have absorbent mind. If you react to them with anger when it comes to things, they develop to be very angry individuals. If you respond with patience, they become patient people. So, like I said, you mirror what they become. You mirror what they become. So another that will keep helping a child does not allow him to be independent. And I want you to know that independence is one tendency and very important need of the child, right? Independence is very important. So you have to support his independence. Give him opportunity. Let him know you support them. And that's why you don't involve yourself when the child doesn't call. Even if the child is crying, leave them to discover it. And you would see the joy that comes from responsibility. But if you have to help them all the time, they will feel they are incapable. You kill them. You kill their ability to be responsible. You kill their esteem. You kill their confidence. Right? So the highest thing you can do when you can just let them know when you need my help, you let me know. And don't force your help. Right? So another thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to your impact is observation over correction. Is very important. You don't um you like one thing I want you to note is that a Montessori teacher is a good listener. So if you want to practice Montessori at home, be a good watcher, observer, and a good listener. A child throwing tantrums is telling you something. A child showing some behaviors that are normal or non normal is trying to pass a message across to you. A child, okay, for example, I want to give you one very painful situation that happened some years back in Nigeria, the country I reside. A parent was forcing, let me put it as forcing, wanted the child to go to school, and then once the child put her leg in the shoe, the child started saying, "No, I don't want to put on this shoe. It's painful. I don't want to." And this child was around 2. The child cannot tell what is inside, and I don't want to put on this shoe, and the mother would force the child in. Guess what? By the time the child got to school, the child died, only for them to open up the shoe and then they discovered the scorpion has crawled himself into the sandal of the child. Sometimes, wait. Another time, a child did something. Okay, there's one that happened recently around me. A child was, the mother said she should wash her plates, but she didn't do it. She begged her younger one, who is around 4, to wash the plates. And then the mother came into the kitchen and was like, "What happened to this plate? This particular plate is broken. What happened?" And then she called the child that she perceived did the washing and said, "Who broke this plate?" And then the child called her younger sister. And then the mother was like, "But you were the one that washed the plate. How come you're lying that your younger sister broke the plate?" And then the mother started eating the child. And then the child started saying, "Yes, it's me. It's me that broke the plate." Yes, in Africa, yeah, people believe that beating is the way of discipline. And so I think the mother became very understanding. She's been on her training. So she became very understanding. And then she called the child in and said, "What actually happened? Why did you lie to me that your sister broke the plate? Whereas were you?" And then she said, I didn't break the plate. It's my sister that broke the plate. I only wanted to protect her. If the mother was patient and would not come with eating first, the child would have explained, and that would have been the solution. Many children today who tell lies is because they see that you are very angry adults. Yes. So please, before the next time you want to judge, observe. For the next time you want to judge, ask question. Questioning is another form of observation. Don't jump into conclusion. Try to understand more than even the child is expressing, right? And be calm enough for them to come to you. Another thing where you can support a child, that you can impact a child's psychological growth, is modeling the behavior. Modeling the behavior. Like I said, the child imitates your behavior, your manner and responses, your mistakes and your stress, how you respond to situations. So if you're an adult who would never say sorry, you will develop a child who never says sorry. And so, and the same thing with you as the teacher, you have to model responsible behavior. From how you correct others in front of them, from how you say those hurtful words to another child in front of them, even if you are not relating with them. I'm telling you, it's so bad that if you are so aggressive on children, before you know, especially parents who are, maybe you're trying to practice homeschool, you're schooling your child. I've had an issue with a particular child who, because the way the mother was aggressive towards another child, the girl started peeing. She wasn't peeing at home before. She started peeing at home, bedwetting. So it not just affects them emotion, it affects every part of the brain. Up until when the parents had to, like, I cannot um, continue handling these children. I just have to let them go. Or this particular individual, I just have to let this person go so that I can have some peace. Do you know, all of a sudden, months after, that child stopped peeing again? So, how we react to our spouses at home, how you react to your next teacher, how you react to their siblings, even if you're not particularly relating with them, it's everything they absorb. And if it continues like that, it forms the person they become. And that's why you hear people saying, in our family we are aggressive, in our family we are angry. It's not hereditary, it's something that is running in the home. And that is why, I mean, someone once said that you have to heal so that you don't bleed on your children. As a teacher, also, you have to heal so that you don't bring what's happening at home to the school, and then you react to these children and they absorb that, and that forms them. So, note that you are very important to the child. Another Another way an adult impacts the psychological development of a child is providing boundaries and consistency. You have to be patient, you have to be present. A child that is held without pressure is an emotionally stable child and it flourishes. And even intelligence is easy. Now, what are the common mistakes adults make that hinder growth? Common mistakes adults make that hinder psychological growth. Number one, over control. Number one is what? Over control. Constant instruction stifles independence. Do this. Sit down there. Stand up. Don't put the plate like this. Don't put this material like this. When you have to read one talking. In fact, their confidence is stifled. They can't even be independent. They feel they have to be judged, and you leave no room for discovery. So it is very important that you are not over controlling their Montessori parent or Montessori teacher. Number two is under involvement. Being physically present but emotionally distracted sends a message that they are not worth your full attention. And that's why in the Montessori classroom, what we do is that we give these children 100%. You're not supposed to bring in your phone, because even if you are observing children, you have to be very much in class. And that's why, as a parent too, you have to understand that you are very involved. So when everything you do is to be on your phone, even if you are physically with them, you let them know they're not actually worth your full attention. So the time they want, they'll find someone else who gives them what they want. And that's a lot of reason why you have the peer pressure becoming so much, so many people learning so many things that the parents didn't teach the child, but you were not present to teach the child this, even though you were physically present. Another common adult mistakes that hinder growth is under involvement. I've talked about under involvement. Another is shame and comparison. Don't ever compare children. Don't ever. It damages self-worth. Don't ever compare children. It damages their self-worth. Like Maria Montessori says, and I'm going to say this, is that the greatest triumph of the teacher is to be able to say the child is now working as if I don't exist. So be careful of these mistakes. Finally, I want to give you the practical tools for Montessori inspired adults. Number one is positive language. If you're going to support and impact their psychological growth, you have to use the right words. For example, children prefer you to tell them what to do than what not to do. What to do than what do I mean? Instead of saying, stop running, why don't you say, slow down and work? Instead of saying, stop climbing, why don't you say, keep your feet on the floor? Don't say, don't touch this, don't touch that. Why don't you say, come hold me? Or come, let's get involved with this. So use the positive language. Even if you know this child is you are out of patience, think before you say that next word, because whatever you say stays with them. Another is pause before you react. Have you learned the first second rule of breathing in and out? Pause before you react. Breathe in and out. Teach children how to regulate their emotions through this. Before you react, breathe, observe, then respond. Use it. Breathe, observe, then respond. And if you're working with your child and then you're like, oh, how I wish I knew this, please, you can start now. You can start already. Now, another thing is offer empathy first. Offer empathy first before correction. Offer empathy. I see you upset, right? I see you upset. But can we calm down and solve this? So stop crying. Hmm. All right. So number four, give responsibility. Give responsibility. When you give responsibility, you're supporting their psychological growth, you're supporting their responsibility, you are even supporting their gross and fine motor skills, you are supporting their sense of order, you're supporting their psychic like life in general. You're helping them build confidence and self-esteem. And if it's for young children, you are also supporting their concentration. Like I said earlier, a child who concentrates is immensely happy. All right, so give responsibility, you give them confidence, you teach them survival skill, you give them emotional stability. Now create routines, create rituals. What I mean by ritual is routines, right? Bedtime story, tidy of clue, morning affirmation. You have to follow this, you have to follow this, you have to follow this. Respect all the reasonable forms of activity in which the child engages in and try to understand them. So, in conclusion, I will say this: your role is both sacred and strategic. Number two, you are shaping the child's inner life more than with your presence, more than with your words. Number three, this methodology reminds us to prepare ourselves just as much as we prepare every other part of ourselves, right? Right? Just like you prepare your face, you want to look beautiful. So you need to prepare yourself also to work with the child. Very importantly, prepare, analyze your movements when it comes to your presentation. Prepare yourself emotionally. Also, prepare yourself to be patient and understand the child. Ask yourself, what kind of emotional environment am I offering my child today? Is it one that they will grow safely, joyfully, or freely? So, today we have learnt about how the adult supports a child's psychological need and your impact, your role, and what this psychological need actually means. I want you to go back today, observe your child, see how you can help support them using the principles I've offered, and you are on the way of developing an adult that is principled, an adult that is lovable, an adult that will break boundaries, and yet very loving and regulated. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video where I'm going to be diving into the Montessori curriculum. Thank you for watching, and I wanted to share with others and tell others to join us as I keep dropping videos back to back. It's 1 hour. My name is Tolulope Halbert, and I see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.